Welcome to the Cenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
So we've all been there. We've been told, and for good reason, that vitamin D is just essential.
Oh, absolutely. It's the superstar nutrient.
It is. It promises better bones, stronger immunity, maybe even a better mood. So many of us, we faithfully take that little capsule every single day, especially when the sun goes away for the winter.
It's probably one of the most common supplements people take globally. But here's the paradox, and it's something the sources we looked at really zeroed in on.
Okay.
Despite all that effort, all the pills, the results, both in blood tests and how you feel, are often, frustratingly inconsistent.
That's the core of the problem, isn't it? You're doing everything right, you're taking it every day, but you either can't seem to get your blood levels up.
Right, you're stuck in that deficient range.
Year after year, or you finally get the number right on the test, but you still feel suboptimal. The fatigue, the low mood, getting sick all the time, it's not changing.
Exactly. So the big question is why? Why are so many of us still deficient, or why aren't those outcomes, like lower inflammation, actually improving? The source material gives a surprisingly simple and practical answer.
Which is?
Magnesium. It's very often the critical missing partner in the equation.
Ah, the tag team.
Precisely. Vitamin D needs certain cofactors to be activated and used by the body. And magnesium is, it's right at the top of that list. So this idea of taking them together is gaining a lot of traction as a solution.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty, the specific biochemical reasons these two are linked.
Yeah, how they work together.
Then we'll look at the clinical evidence for taking them together, what works, and just as importantly, where the results are still a bit mixed.
And finally, the practical side, how to test, how to dose, and how to do it safely.
So if you've ever felt like your vitamin D supplement just wasn't pulling its weight, this is definitely going to shed some light on why. Well, let's start right there with that problem, the gap. This inconsistency when you're just taking vitamin D by itself. In the real world, it seems to show up in a couple of different ways.
That's right. The first one is very common. It's when someone just stays clinically deficient almost no matter how much vitamin D they take.
Even with high doses.
Even with high doses, their body just can't seem to get the levels up and keep them there. It's like pouring water into a leaky bucket.
And the second way, that one's almost more confusing, I think.
It is. The second is when you do get your 25-OHD levels up, that's the Storage Form Labs measure, but you still see no change in what really matters.
The clinical markers.
Exactly. The inflammatory markers, immune function, bone turnover rates, nothing's moving. The vitamin D is in your bloodstream, but it's just sitting there, inert.
So the vitamin is physically there, but it's not doing the job. It's like having a powerful new engine delivered to your house, but you can't find the key to start it.
That's a perfect analogy, and that's where this cofactor explanation comes in. It's the key. The research is very clear on this. Magnesium is what unlocks vitamin D's potential.
Okay, so how?
Think of the whole activation process like a factory assembly line. The enzymes are the workers. But these workers can't do their job converting vitamin D into its usable form unless they have their essential tool.
And that tool is magnesium.
That tool is magnesium.
Which raises a question for me. If the science is this clear, why do 90% of vitamin D supplements on the shelf not have magnesium in them? Is the industry just lagging behind?
I think it's a few things. Some of it is regulatory inertia, and some of it is just this historical habit in nutrition of focusing on a single ingredient, single nutrient, instead of the whole system.
The magic bullet idea.
Right. But what the studies show again and again is that without enough magnesium, those factory workers, the enzymes, they work really poorly. The whole process becomes inefficient and unpredictable.
And the bottom line for you, the listener.
The bottom line is that fixing your magnesium status might be the one thing you need to do to finally let that vitamin D you're taking get to work. If you've ever felt like a poor responder to vitamin D, this is the most logical, evidence-based next step to consider.
It feels like finding out you had the right key the whole time, but the key fob was out of batteries. That's a fascinating kind of system failure. So let's get into the mechanics, the actual science behind this synergy. How does magnesium actually make it all work?
Okay, so we're talking about two major steps, two biochemical conversions, and both of them are completely dependent on magnesium.
Step one.
When you take a vitamin D supplement, it's usually cholecalciferol, or D3. The first conversion happens mostly in the liver. An enzyme there, a hydroxylase enzyme, needs magnesium to turn that D3 into 25-hydroxyvitamin D.
Which is 25-OHD, the storage form you mentioned.
The very same. That's what your doctor is measuring in your blood test.
Okay, that makes sense for the first step, but then there's a second, more critical step, right?
Exactly. Just having the storage form in your blood isn't enough. It's still pretty inactive. To actually do its job bind to receptors in your immune cells, your bones, your gut, it has to be converted one more time.
Into the final active hormonal form.
Yes, into 1025-dihydroxyvitamin D, the active form.
It requires
More magnesium. The enzyme that handles this second step, mainly in the kidneys, is also magnesium dependent. So if you're low in magnesium, both of these conversions they slow way down.
and you get that backup. Lots of inactive vitamin D, but not enough of the final active hormone that actually sends the signals.
That's the bottleneck.
That makes the dependency crystal clear. But what's really fascinating, and something the research highlights, is that magnesium isn't just a simple booster. It's not just flooring the gas pedal. It acts more like a sophisticated regulator.
This is the most compelling part, I think. The clinical data shows this consistent, what we call a bidirectional pattern. It shows that magnesium helps normalize vitamin D status. It brings the whole system into balance.
Wait, hang on. So it doesn't just push the levels higher and higher? It manages both the top and the bottom end.
Yes, it's a true regulator, not just an additive.
So what does that look like in a real person?
It's remarkable. In people who start with low vitamin D, adding magnesium helps raise their 25-OHD levels, just as you'd expect. It makes the conversion more efficient. But on the flip side, in people who have very high vitamin D levels...
Maybe they took too much by accident.
Exactly, or had a huge loading dose. In those cases, magnesium can actually help blunt those excessive levels and bring them back down toward a safer range.
How on earth does it do that?
It's thought to be because it also plays a role in the enzymes that break down vitamin D. So, with enough magnesium, your body can not only build up vitamin D, but also get rid of the excess safely.
So it runs the accelerator and the brakes.
That's the perfect way to put it. It supports synthesis and responsible breakdown. It keeps the entire system in a safe, functional equilibrium.
Okay, so let's shift from the biochemistry to what this actually means for our health. What are the most promising clinical results when these two are finally put together?
The most consistent and, I'd say, robust finding is around the anti-inflammatory effect. When vitamin D and magnesium are given together, the trials consistently show stronger reductions in inflammatory markers than with vitamin D alone.
Which just reinforces that idea that the vitamin D has to be activated to do its job, especially when it comes to the immune system.
Precisely. To get that immune-modulating benefit, you need the active form.
Can you give us some specifics, like which markers are we talking about and who benefited the most?
Yeah, the studies saw significant drops in markers like HSCRP, that's high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, a big general marker for inflammation, and also things like tumor necrosis factor alpha.
And certain groups saw a bigger effect.
They did. The benefits were especially clear in groups that tend to struggle with both low-grade inflammation and nutrient insufficiency to begin with. So we're talking about overweight individuals, people with metabolic syndrome, and some groups of middle-aged women. For them, co-supplementation really seemed to move the needle.
Yeah, it's incredibly promising. But we always need to present the full picture, and the source material was clear that some studies had mixed results. We have to talk about that.
Absolutely. It's crucial. While that biochemical fix getting the 25-OHD levels up is often confirmed, it doesn't always translate to immediate clinical wins for every single outcome measure.
So what does that look like?
Some well-designed studies would see the vitamin D levels go up, as expected, but they'd report no immediate change in, say, markers of bone formation or in insulin resistance, especially over shorter trial periods like 3 or 6 months.
Okay, so if the vitamin D levels are getting better, why aren't all the health outcomes following along right away? Does that mean it's not working?
No, not at all. It just means we need context and a bit of patience. The key insight here is understanding biological latency. Correcting a biochemical number is the first step, but complex things, they take time to change.
Right. Building bone density or reversing insulin resistance isn't a 3-month project.
Exactly. That's a slow process of tissue remodeling that can take many months, even years. So the study duration is a huge factor here. If you stop the clock at 3 months, you might see inflammation go down, but you're not going to see a change in bone density yet.
It's a foundational fix, not a quick fix.
That's it. We're fixing the engine, but the car still needs time to actually drive the distance. It manages expectations.
I think that's a really important distinction. Okay, let's make this practical. How does someone start on this safely and effectively? The source is all stressed one approach. Test, then tailor.
Yes, that's the absolute imperative. Don't guess. The first step is always to measure your serum 25-OHD to see where you stand. And just as important, you need to assess your magnesium status.
So for magnesium, is a simple blood test. A serum magnesium test, enough.
It's a good starting point. A serum test gives you a snapshot of what's in your blood, and if that's low, it's a very clear sign.
Oh, that's...
But because most of your body's magnesium is stored inside your cells, not in the blood, our sources note that a functional test, like a red blood cell magnesium test, can be more informative, especially if you're trying to spot a more subtle chronic deficiency.
That's a good nuance to discuss with your doctor.
Definitely.
Now, before anyone rushes out to buy supplements, let's talk about the food first rule. Where can we get more magnesium from our diet?
The best sources are whole, unprocessed foods. We're talking leafy greens, so spinach, kale, things like that. Also nuts and seeds, beans, lentils, and whole grains. For a lot of people, a diet that's really rich in those foods is the best long-term strategy, maybe with a small supplement to fill any gaps.
Okay, so let's say we've tested, we've identified a need, and we decide to supplement. What kind of doses were used in the research? And we should say, these are starting points, not prescriptions.
Right. Based on the trials, a typical range would be pairing 1,000 to 2,000 IU of vitamin D3 daily with somewhere around 200 to 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium.
And elemental is the key word there.
It's so important. You have to read the supplement facts panel carefully. 400 milligrams of a compound like magnesium glycinate is not 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium. The elemental dose is the actual amount of magnesium you're getting, and that's the number that matters.
Got it. Now, for the consumer-friendly tips, there are so many forms of magnesium. Which ones are best?
For absorption and, importantly, for gut tolerance, the research points to forms like magnesium glycinate or citrate. They're generally really well tolerated, very bioavailable.
And what should we avoid?
I would say avoid relying only on magnesium oxide. It's cheap, which is why it's common, but it's not well absorbed, and it's much, much more likely to cause digestive side effects.
And what about timing? When should we take these?
Vitamin D is fat-soluble, so always take your D3 with a meal that contains some healthy fat. That will really help absorption. For magnesium, if you find the full dose upsets your stomach, a great trick is to just split it. Take half in the morning and half before bed.
Okay, and we have to end this section with the crucial safety warnings. This is so important. Who needs to be extremely cautious here?
This cannot be overstated. You have to talk to a healthcare provider before starting something new, especially if you're in a high-risk group. First and foremost, anyone with impaired kidney function.
Why is that so critical?
Because your kidneys clear out excess magnesium. If they aren't working well, magnesium can build up to dangerous levels, and that can affect your heart and your nervous system.
What other groups need to get medical guidance first?
Anyone with a known heart rhythm disorder needs to be careful, as magnesium levels affect the heart's electrical signals. Also, people on certain medications that mess with mineral balance, like long-term proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux or some diuretics.
And finally, don't just mega-dose vitamin D on your own.
Please don't. Very high doses of vitamin D can actually create their own problems with magnesium and calcium balance. The mantra is test, tailor your dose, and work with a professional.
So to wrap up our entire deep dive here, the main takeaway is that vitamin D isn't a solo act. It's part of a system that absolutely depends on its cofactors.
That's the whole story.
And if you're taking vitamin D and you're still feeling suboptimal or your levels just won't budge, looking at your magnesium status is the most logical, evidence-based next step you can take.
Focus on food first.
Right. Focus on food. Test to figure out your personal needs. And if you supplement, choose a good, well-absorbed form like glycinate or citrate. Give that vitamin D the partner it needs to actually get the job done.
And if we pull the lens back even further, this whole story about magnesium being essential for vitamin D's activation and regulation, it really provides a powerful template for how we should think about nutrition in general.
How so?
Well, it raises a really important question for you to think about. How many other common supplements we take, maybe calcium for bones or B vitamins for energy, how many of them might also be limited by a hidden cofactor deficiency?
That's a great point. We tend to focus on the one big name ingredient.
We do. We obsess over the single high-dose star player. But the future of really effective, personalized nutrition probably depends on understanding these complex, systemic interdependencies. It's about looking at the whole system, not just the single ingredient.
Thanks for tuning in to the Cenario podcast. Don't forget to visit Cenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.